Hi, welcome to the channel. So I've been waiting for a part for like over a week and a half and it's been stuck at customs. So I can't give you that update. I'm pretty excited to do that, but it's also giving me a little bit of free time to share with you some things that I've been kind of putting off. So today I'm gonna show you how to install a radar detector in your car. This also works for like dash cams, stuff like that. Pretty much any electronic peripheral that you want to install in your car. But there's gonna be two pitfalls that I really want you to avoid. And one of them has to do with the airbag deploying, and the other one has to do with how you exactly hardwire it into the car. Because for me, the most important thing is to do any sort of wiring to make sure that it's reversible. And let's say you don't want to sell the car right now, but a couple years down the road, you want to sell it and you want to remove all those original electronics that you put in. It's important to do it in the best way possible. So let's jump right into it and I'll show you exactly what I have on the bench and then we'll put it in the car. All right, so what you're gonna need for this, first off, you're gonna need a radar detector. This is a Valentine one. I've had it for a number of years and every time I've gotten a ticket or been pulled over, it's because I do not have this in the car and I really can't advise ever driving your car without it. So always wonderful to have. Don't get the ones at AutoZone, they don't work. Get like, yeah, I think there's a Passport or Escort, something like that, some brand that I also recommend, but Valentine one has always done me right and great company. So there you need that, and this also works for dash cams too. What I'm going to show you is going to work for any sort of dash cam installation or any sort of hardwiring that you need to do in your car to do it safely and properly. Also going to need a set of trim removal installation pieces. This is actually like one of the first tools I actually ever purchased like 10 years ago, and I only have one left. They usually come in like a set of 4 or something like that, but I have one left, and I'll link those in the description as well. This actually came with the radar detector install kit. So your kit might come with it, might not, but yeah. So this is the kit that you're going to need to install in your car, and I'm going to show you exactly why you need something like this for your radar detector. And you know it's legit because you have a Gallardo right on the top. So not a Superleggera, but you can't win everything. So I'll show you what's in here, and I'll show you exactly why you need something like this. Come on. Cool. So this is the most important aspect of the whole install kit. And this is called a fuse tap. And this is what we're going to need to safely install the radar detector in our car without modifying any sort of electronics, without splicing in anything or anything like that, and making it 100% completely reversible. These are excellent because what you do is you go to the fuse panel, you take a fuse out, you plug this in, and then you plug the existing fuse into the topmost fuse connector, and then the fuse for the radar detector in the bottommost one. And that is the safest way to install any sort of peripheral electronic into your car. Please, please, please do not use wire taps. I think they're also called T-taps. I really can't recommend it against it enough. Like, do not do that. So if you're not familiar with what a T-tap is, I'll show you a little picture. What it basically is it wraps around an existing wire like this, and then you clip it on, and what it does is it splices into the shielding of the wire that's existing on your car, and then you'll have like 12-volt power coming off of it. So that's bad because it's not reversible. So once you splice into the wire and you take the T-tap off again, you have this spliced wire that has a little bit of an exposed shielding on your car. And that's just not cool. So I really can't advise against that. This kit fortunately comes with 3 different fuse types. So fuses come a couple shapes and sizes, and these are the most common sizes. Just a little bit bigger, smaller. I think they're called ATC fuses. And then this also comes with a cable. So my cable is a RJ11, which is basically like a landline phone. And I didn't really like how thick this cable was. So I went ahead and found a thinner RJ11 cable. The thinner the cable, the better it is. And on the other end, you have the spot for the fuse splice, and then you have the grounding lug. And then that's all we need. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have an existing RJ11 cable come in. I'm gonna have a junction box right here that's gonna snap these two together, and then this is gonna go into the fuse box. So let's get in the car and I'll show you exactly how to install this. So the first thing we're gonna wanna do is mount the radar detector. I have mine mounted in the top right, and you want this as high as possible to extend the range of the radar detector. Some people mount them in their rearview mirror, and that's cool, but I just kind of wanted it out of the way. And so I have an RJ11 cable that came with my radar detector, and you want this cable to be as thin as possible, and you'll realize really quickly why, like when it comes to a hard install, you want this cable to be super thin. So when it comes to routing, what I recommend is you start up here and you run all the way down around over into that panel gap back there, around here, through this little trim strip. We're gonna put it behind there. We're gonna come down behind the trim strip, through that little panel gap, and then we're basically home free to the fuse blocks back there. The thing I really want you to avoid is, you might ask me, why don't I just go like right here? Why don't I just do that? And there's one reason, and it's because of the airbag that runs through this beam right here. So there's the side curtain airbag, and this might prevent, if you put a cable here, this might prevent that from actually deploying. So that's really something I want to avoid. And if we mount it this way and run it down this lateral direction, then we won't have any issues with that. All right, so if the radar detector installed, we're going to start by pushing the cable in through this little pillar space. And you'll notice that the cable might be a little bit loose, but as soon as we round this corner down here, it's going to be a lot easier, and it's also not going to fall out because it's going to cause a little bit of tension. So don't really worry about that. All right, so we're going to round that corner, and this is where the trim installation pieces are going to come in very handy. And we're going to want to put it into that little gap and then just gently press it in, just so you can't distinguish it anymore. It might make a little bit of cracking noise or a little bit of squeaking noise, but don't worry about that. Then we're going to get it around this pillar and then into this window right here. Go. I'm going to push it in and then wedge it in there carefully. And that's why you need a thin cable, because this just makes it so much easier and so much better on your interior than if you had like a really thick, crazy thick cable. Just like that. Perfect. And then finally we can work on this side. And we're going to want to put it right behind this little trim piece, just like that. And this might seem like it doesn't want to go in, but the more you kind of get it back there and then you massage it, it's going to want to sit really nice and flush. It's going to look really good at the end of the day. So just keep massaging it, making sure it's kind of in the back, in between that trim piece. The last part is right underneath here. And I've noticed I wasn't able to really get that wedged in that far, because I think it's just kind of a little splice. So this is like the only part that it's really showing. And we have the cable routed now. If there's any spots, you can kind of come back and just wedge it in a little bit more. I think there's a spot back there maybe I missed. I'll take a look at that. And it runs around here. There's a little spot that I might need to touch up right here, and then maybe massage this a little bit more. I can't get this spot because it's kind of a lap joint, but it's almost indiscernible. We have that cable running through, and then we can get at the fuse box. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to tap into a fuse underneath the dash that is non-critical. And so looking on our fuse diagram for on page 272, we're going to find a fuse that is non-essential. And I tried HomeLink, but the Superleggera doesn't have HomeLink installed. So what I'm going to be using is fuse number 19, which is the right door. But if your car has HomeLink, I recommend using that one. Either way, let's just make sure we use a non-essential system. Like, we don't want to go into the AC fan or the electronic stability control or something like that. And I'm going to be using right door. So that's fuse number 19, and that corresponds with underneath the dash to this fuse right here. So here we are underneath the dash, and we're going to find fuse number 19, which is right here. And I tried to use the fuse puller that came with the install kit, and it just didn't work. So I'm going to use a pair of pliers and pull that out just like that. Then we're going to get the appropriately sized fuse tap and install the factory fuse in this location. And then we're going to get the fuse that came with the radar detector install kit, this being a 5 amp fuse, and install it in this location. Get the completed fuse splice and plug it in just like this. That's it. That's all we have to do. And then we get the wiring from that came with the kit, and one of them is 12 volt power and the other one is ground. So we're going to do 12 volt power first, and then we're going to slide the sheath right over it. Make sure it's insulated properly, just like that. We have power, we also need ground. So what I did is I loosened up this 10 mil bolt, and I'm going to slide this grounding lug right behind it and then tighten it back down. So if you recall, I had the wire that came with the radar detector installation kit, and this was like super thick. And then I also used this thin wire that I routed through the dash. So I have this little RJ11 connector, and I'm just going to connect both of those together, and then we should have power to the radar detector. I was actually able to tuck all the wires back behind here, and then from the outside you'll never be able to notice. So a nice clean install, and the best part about it is this can be easily removed, and so can that, and all this wiring can be pulled out super easy whenever you decide to sell the car or decide to put something else in. So that's all we really had to do to install a radar detector in a car. Was the application of that fuse tap really helped, and also routing it around that airbag so it could actually still deploy was the most important thing to consider. So if this video helped you, I'd really appreciate it if you liked it, and if you consider subscribing, I really appreciate that as well. So until next time, thanks.